Hi, everybody.
Sup? So welcome to What's Your Worst? We're doing this in person now.
Yeah, this is completely new, and we started like an hour ago. I think I picked Sam up an hour ago,
Yeah.
and we have just been figuring it out for the last hour.
Yeah,
But
mostly Simon. He's got the one with the space and all of the nice equipment. And I've just got my simple setup, but it's just figuring out all the wires and all the different inputs that we need, and realizing that we can, do this stuff in person if we, keep proper social distancing, and we have all the correct technological stuff that I don't really understand, but Simon does pretty well, thank God.
I barely understand it. I'm still figuring out why I'm hearing Sam twice, but I'm pretty sure it's just because I had Discord open. So, yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah.
This probably won't happen every single time.
Mm.
It's just kind of the circumstances of what's going on right now, and we felt comfortable because Sam works with my partner, and so his germs are my germs, essentially. But we definitely don't recommend this for everybody doing like recording or stuff together. If you're working on projects with friends, definitely take caution and be safe. We're sitting 6 feet apart or so right now, so we're still being cautious. But yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah,
I don't know if we've done something like this yet, and we're still working out like a lot of the details. But yeah,
things might be a little different. Things might sound a little different this time. So just be prepared for a little bit of different audio, maybe a little bit of different awkward gestures, because we're moving around a little more. Cause we're not.
And now we can look at each other.
I know,
not
right?
Look at the cat. Like,
hey, bud.
This is great. Yeah, this is exciting. I also want to give a shout out to all of the people that commented on the last video and on Sam's post on Facebook sharing this out, just for giving us suggestions. I think we got probably like 15 or 20 suggestions for
new topics.
Yeah, so super helpful. We're definitely going to go through as many as possible because now we don't have to think of them.
And yeah, so that's again, we said this last week. Simon mentioned this last week. We want you all to be able to watch something that you're invested in, and to give you a little bit of like ownership of the views that you're of the videos you're watching.
Yeah.
So we will get around to those topics today. We have a different topic that we were planning to do a later date, but it got moved up to today. But today we're going to be discussing our worst roommate stories.
Yeah. And so Sam and I used to live together.
2 different times.
A couple of times, yeah. Because we've been friends for
7 years.
7 years at this point.
Yeah.
And which is wild.
Yeah, right.
But we have lived together a couple of times. We've lived with other people, other roommates a couple of times. And there's definitely a lot of situations that I can think of for the people that you used to live with that were pretty shitty, and probably vice versa. I don't know, actually, because
I mean, I think what's going to be funny is we were talking about this a little bit before, and a little bit when we initially discussed this topic, but that it's kind of funny that like both of our worst experiences happened in the same house at different times.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah. Let's give you a little backstory. Give you a little background. So Simon and I we met at college, met freshman year at college, and we didn't live together.
We honestly weren't like super close friends freshman year.
Yeah, but we knew each other. We hung out. I was closer friends with Simon's roommate, and I was in their suite every day. But then it ended up being that like, people grow apart and people like friendships change. But Simon actually ended up starting to date one of my friends, like one of my closer friends, near the beginning of our sophomore year.
Yes.
And that's true.
I was wondering who you were talking about.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's Jen.
That's
yeah,
Jen.
of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. It's
I was
started
like,
dating
who
Jen.
the
Started
fuck are
dating
you
Jen.
talking about? Okay.
Yeah, started
Yeah.
dating Jen sophomore year.
Yeah.
And Jen and I lived in the same building. And we were in the same student organization and hung out a lot. And so then started hanging out with Simon more through Jen. And then one thing led to another, and we both were moving off campus, and we decided to get a place together with another one of our friends. Someone Simon knew better, but one of those people. And then Simon ended up moving out to a new place with some folks from his major.
Yeah. And then the year afterwards, they ended up moving out of that house, and Sam moved in with Jeff, actually, who was on a couple of episodes ago. So that's kind of how I really got to know Jeff pretty well. You knew Jeff before that, but and so that house I'm fairly certain is cursed.
Yeah, pretty much that house has some, like, we're probably got some lodestone underneath.
Yeah,
like we definitely, during our time there, a lot of stuff happened. A lot of firsts happened to that house that apparently had never happened before.
A lot of firsts and a lot of worsts.
A lot of firsts and a lot of worsts. Yeah, that's a good one. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I think that's probably enough backstory. I think we can probably get
let's get into it.
You went first last week?
I believe so. I believe so. I went.
So, I wonder if she's around. She is. Yeah, you can actually see her in Sam's camera there.
There's a cat
in the Sam cam. So that's my precious little daughter, Aria. She is crazy, and I love her. But my roommate that year that I didn't live with Sam did not like pets. He hated pets, which was not great when you have a 1.5-year-old, not even kitten, that is very energetic.
Yeah.
And just wants to see what's in his room. So there were a couple of times where she would like sneak in there and he would get mad and come out. But I'm just gonna put a little preface before this that nothing happened with her. I would never let anything happen to my cat or any animals. But she got in there close to the end of our living together, our lease cycle.
I quickly want to interject. This is the same person who got upset with Simon for his 21st birthday party when people sat on this guy's couches.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't like sharing his public space items.
No. Yeah, there were a couple of points where I think he took his TV into his room, which wouldn't have worked because that room was not big enough for a full TV. But he got like super defensive about everything, and so our other roommate, who I love that kid to bits, Tyler, if you're listening to this, love you, bud. He went out and bought a new TV that day just to be like, okay, yeah, and you know, if I say anybody's name here, I'm gonna bleep it out.
Yeah.
But it was basically just a big old fuck you to that kid.
Yeah. But going back to your story, so Arya went in the room.
Yeah, Arya went in his room, and he freaked the fuck out. Like, he was stomping around, literally, like, saying he was going to kill my cat. And when I heard that, I was like, no, you're fucking not. And so I walked in between him and Arya so that I could, like, create some distance, and he threw me to the ground. Because this is a big guy.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Imagine Shrek. He is a large guy.
Not the first time I met him, but when Jeff and I were touring the house, I believe I said to him, "Oh, you look like a guy who likes a good snack." And I didn't mean it like a fat joke, but who knows his way around a snack? Yeah. And I did not mean it that way. He was talking about making a snack or something. And I was like, "You look like a guy who know a good snack." And it didn't play well, and Jeff uses it against me. So
he definitely did not.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's like 6'7", 6'5".
He's a big guy.
He's taller than Sam, which is pretty tall. And he is. Anyway, he like threw me to the ground, and I was just like, "How about you fucking don't do that?" And so, after a little while, and like probably 10 minutes of me and Tyler basically just blocking him away from the cat, he calmed down and he went into the room and listened to a whole lot of angry music that was way too loud, but that's just because of the situation of the house. But yeah, I don't know what it was about that whole situation that pissed him off that much. Either it was because we were already having roommate troubles or there were other things going on, but that was not okay for anybody to do, first of all, but in general.
But this was like an ongoing thing with him too. It's like, because it wasn't just Arya, and it wasn't just like possessive roommate stuff. Like, he just kind of had this personality trait of being like aggressive and confrontational.
Yeah. I don't want to play like therapist or psychologist or whatever the right word is, but he definitely had a lot of like anger problems and a lot of not really knowing how to handle situations. I mean,
like social awareness.
Yeah, and for anyone that doesn't know, I was a computer science major in college, and we don't have the best rep for being socially conscious and really knowing what's going on. So being socially aware is not one of our strong suits.
And like emotionally, no, I'd say like you're pretty emotionally stable, but maybe like
me specifically.
You specifically.
Okay.
So maybe you're the diamond in the rough, but
maybe.
like
I mean, there are definitely a lot of my friends in CS were very emotionally stable, like,
and cool people.
Yeah,
like cool folks.
But there's always those people that would rather just hang out in a dark room and code all day, and you know.
Hey,
for some people, that's great. Don't be a dick to other people.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't give you the excuse to threaten to kill your roommate's cat.
Yeah.
Like, this is somebody who was your friend initially.
We decided to live together.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a.
Yeah. It's
not okay.
I think you know what would have solved that situation? I've thought this for a long time. If he just closed the door.
He tried. I mean, she's a slippery little bug, but
she would always just slip in before he could close it.
I mean, or he would leave it cracked a little bit, or he would like go into the kitchen.
And if you always get what you always got, you just take an extra measure. Like, I've had cats before. Like, I've had a cat before. Like, you stop her. She always tried to get out the door, out the front door. You just plan for it. You like start preparing. You're like, okay, prep your foot to block. Like, it's like you know she's gonna try to sneak in through the door. So just prep for that.
Yeah, and I mean it's.
Jeff did the next year.
Yeah. So when so after a little bit more backstory now, because I guess this is also an important part.
Yeah.
I ended up moving out of that house when Jen and I decided to move in together. And when I left, one of our friends at the time, no longer friends, decided to move in, and so
this leads into
leads into your story actually, because we talked about that a little bit. So if you want to go into detail with that a little bit more,
strap in, folks. All right. So so when Simon moved out to go, that was the last time Simon and I lived together, and this other guy moved in. This was my. So he and I lived together a lot. This is my freshman year random roommate, who I lived with again my sophomore year, when Simon's first roommate and I sort of fell apart as friends.
Yeah, my freshman roommate and Sam initially planned to live together. There's a lot more roommate backstory than I thought we would need, but there's a whole lot of ins and outs and
it was
crossing over.
It was really like we've had a really interesting like housing journey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, housing situation too.
Like your whole like pathway. This is like this place is the longest Simon's lived somewhere in the last 4 years? Ever?
Yeah. Besides my parents' house.
Yeah, since moving from home. Like since coming to college. Like,
we've been here for 14 months, I think.
Yeah, this is the longest you've lived somewhere.
15 months. Yeah.
In the last 7 years.
Yeah.
That's
wild.
Yeah.
It's a nice place. I mean, there are its ups and downs, but
same with any place.
Yeah, exactly.
But I lived with this guy for 2 years, my first 2 years of college. So think between ages 18 and 19. Then I moved in with Simon, and then I moved in with Simon again at the place where all of this went down. I lived at this house. Lived at this house with Simon and Jeff and his girlfriend Sarah for a year, and then Jeff and Sarah wanted to live on their own, and so they moved into their own place. Simon moved out halfway through to go live with Jen, and this guy moved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy moved in while it was still me, Sarah, Jeff, and then Sarah and Jeff moved out, and Julia, my girlfriend, moved in with me, and and then my roommate, my current still my roommate, 3 years later is Zach. My roommate Zach moved in as well.
Yeah.
There was this whole saga sort of began with a misunderstanding of like what being a good roommate is. And it's like being a good roommate, you think good communication skills, you just let someone know, you give the common courtesy of like consideration when you're going to do something that affects the whole house.
Yeah.
And this consistently happened. This consistently was forgotten by this person. He was reminded, like, one of the things that I've definitely picked up from Julia over the last 3 years of living with her is a little bit better cleanliness in public spaces. And I tend to pick up better after myself than I did when I was before I lived with her. And she holds our like cleanliness, particularly in the kitchen and the living room, to pretty high regard. Because yeah,
I'm sure that you guys can see in the background. There's probably stuff that I should have picked up before this, but whatever.
It's whatever. It's your place.
Welcome to my home.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's your place. I like no judgment. But that this like one of the earliest things was Julia reminding all of us, including me.
Yep.
Pick up after yourselves. Please do your dishes after you do them. Which was something I started to do when I was living with Sarah and Jeff and Simon. I started to get better at it because Jeff was the same way, and because we're sharing all of the kitchen utensils, we want it to be clean for the next person, particularly if 4 different people are eating at different times. And that was the simplest thing. And he would consistently not do his dishes and leave them.
That's almost exactly the same situation with my shitty roommate too. It's
yeah.
like he would save up dishes in his room, dishes that we all shared for a month at a time, and then just take them out by like the armful, because he would consistently eat in his room if we were in the living room or in the kitchen or something. Like
it seems like this is just a bad roommate trait.
Yeah,
and so he wouldn't leave them in his room. He would never really do that, but he just would leave them, and then he'd go to school or go to work or whatever, and come back later. We'd be like, hey, you left your dishes. Can you please not do that? He'd say, oh, can you just do them for me?
No.
And I'll do your dishes next time. And the whole thing was like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to ask you to do my dishes. Like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Like, you just do your dishes. Like, okay, I'll leave them for me. I'll do them when I come back. It's like, okay, I needed this dish, so I did it, but please do it next time.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. It happened again. So that's just the smallest example. It's just like it's just like consideration for the other people you're living with.
Yeah.
I wish Julia was here for this. I always wish Julia is here for these podcasts because her perspective on stuff is always just a little bit more helpful in rounding out the story.
Because you're gonna miss stuff.
I'm gonna miss stuff, but this is my experience.
And you have your own kind of like feelings and emotions about this anyway, that you're gonna forget all the like small things.
Right.
Yeah.
And the problem is with this is I could go on for an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to condense it down. So one of the biggest annoyances that happened to me, and the problem with knowing this guy from the time that we first entered college together, is that we had history and we had like established ways of it coexisting.
Yeah.
And I could always like sort of justify his actions through his behavior, like his behavior, because I knew him.
Yeah.
And
you knew that was just how he was.
Right.
That doesn't mean how he was good.
Right.
Especially as a roommate.
And he always tried to present himself as someone who would listen.
Yeah.
And whereas and people who didn't see it his way weren't listening to him.
Yeah.
And they just didn't get it because he was right.
Yeah, exactly.
In his mind, he was right. And so eventually, once Julia moved in and came into the mix and brought, honestly, well, she wasn't the first female roommate I had, but she was the first first female roommate that like stood up for the fact that she is a woman living with three guys.
Yeah.
Because Sarah never had to. We always treated Sarah with like the best respect, and
well, because Sarah treated you with good respect.
Exactly.
Like
it was mutual. It was always mutual.
She was a good roommate.
She was a good roommate, and
Jeff was a good roommate too.
Yeah, like they're
all of the other roommates that we've had have been
pretty great roommates.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I like. This is basically the only roommate I think that I wouldn't want to live with again. This is the only, and I've lived with him the longest of any person I've lived with.
Yeah,
which is startling.
Even Julia?
Yeah, even Julia. I've only lived with Julia for 3 years. I lived with him for 4.
Oh, okay.
So
she's coming up.
Yeah,
go take a spot.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna pull a fast one. Then.
She did that when we had been dating for like 13 months. She became like my longest relationship ever at that point, and so that was a big milestone for us. Like
yeah.
Now we've been dating for 5 years, so it's like whatever. But I digress. The thing the biggest thing I think that happened that happened with him was that he would consistently bring in like new pieces of furniture and not talk to us about it. And we would say, hey, can you like talk to us about it first? Because this affects all of us. Normally we would be okay with it because it's like, okay, yeah, I could see where we could use this.
Yeah. Like I understand that you also want a desk.
Right. It's like, yeah, you want your desk out here? I get it.
Yeah.
But we asked you, like, said, hey, the living room's starting to get a little bit cluttered. We already have 2 desks out here. Do you mind checking out checking out a space in your room first?
Or somewhere else.
Because he already had a desk in his room. He just hadn't cleaned. His desk was already in his room. He just wanted to move it out. And we said to him, like, hey, like, how about you just clean your room? Like, your room's pretty cluttered. There's definitely a way to organize this.
It's also a pretty relatively big room. I mean, the one downside of it, and this was my room when I was living there too, so I know firsthand because I had a desk in.
Yeah, you had a desk in there.
I did have a desk in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a big desk. Yours was a big desk. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was basically a bathroom off of one wall, the door to like the rest of the house, and then the door to the closet. And so there wasn't a whole lot of like space on the walls.
But he put it between... Yeah, he put it between like the entry door and the closet door.
Yeah.
And it opened up to his bed, and he had his whole setup there. And it was his second desk because his first desk broke. And so it did break. It just collapsed under itself. Like luckily he didn't like lose any of his like technology. Like I think his Mac was on it. His like iMac was on it, but like he didn't end up. It didn't break.
It was like a shitty Walmart desk anyway, so.
But yeah, which he touted. He was always like, "This is the super desk. This is the desk of the future," and then it broke. And I thought that was
$20
really
at Walmart.
But he said to us like, "I want to move my desk out to the living room." We're like, "Okay, how about you try this first, and if it doesn't work, then let's do it." And then he moved it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. He like the next day we got back from doing whatever we were doing, and it was out in the living room.
Yeah.
And I think Julia had to talk to him alone. So that's more her story. But basically, he did it without talking with us, and then got mad at Julia for like not listening to him about what he needed for his room, and then his family was going through a hard time, and so he mentioned that, and then Julia felt like she couldn't say anything else. Like she couldn't say anything else about like criticizing him because she felt sorry for the fact that his family was going through like a rough emotional patch.
Yeah.
And so, but then later it sort of came out that like, it sort of was implied that he did it to get her off like his case. And so he like, which is shitty. And it's a shitty thing to insinuate, but at the same time, it's also like, why bring that up as a justification for moving your desk?
Yeah. There were so many situations with this guy that like I knew at least who you were going to talk about, and you probably knew who I was going to talk about. I mean, I kind of
thought you were talking about me.
I wasn't going to shit talk you, but now that you bring it up, no, like there were so many situations that I was just like, I have no idea what he's going to talk about, because it was like constantly, it was like week after week, I would just like hear from Julia or like Zach or
me,
you, and it was just like, I mean, I start to feel bad because I brought that into that
But
situation.
like we let it. We welcomed it.
Yeah, and it's also like his fault.
Yeah,
He has every ability not to be an asshole.
Yeah,
and he decided not to be.
That's the thing. We always gave every chance to just say like, hey, can you please just, you know, send us a text? Like if you're going to do something, just send us a text.
Y'all, we're in a group chat.
We're in a group chat.
Like,
we have a group chat. Use
yeah.
it. Like, and
that's the most helpful thing. If you're living with other people, just have a group chat.
Yeah.
Even if you don't use it, it's there.
My group chat with Zach, Jess, and Jules is homies who love and support each other. And because we love and support each other,
yeah,
we want to create a positive environment. And this was the least positive environment that I lived in.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that happened to me, like this happened to me directly. The one before happened more to Julia, but this one I ended dealing with it as well because I lived with them.
Yeah.
But the one that happened to me was the week that Zach and Julia moved in. This is about a month after Sarah and Jeff moved out. I'd been living.
I'll bleep it up.
Cool. He and I had been living together alone for about a month, and we were doing fine. We just mostly kept to ourselves. I think we watched a couple anime together.
Yeah.
But the
fucking weeb.
I know, right? Moonspeak. Damn Moonspeak.
What is that?
It's from Team 4-Star.
Oh, okay.
It's just talking about
I didn't watch that.
Talking about weeb culture. And,
okay.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Definitely recommend it.
I really want to watch Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the few animes that I really get into because Jen watches Sailor Moon. I watch JoJo, and it's just like that's basically it. I mean, we're watching Avatar: The Last Airbender again.
Yeah, which is not an anime, but it's very close.
Pretty much anime.
Yeah.
It's American anime.
Yeah. But again, we digress. But the thing that happened to me, so they were just moving in, and I was actually applying for new jobs, and this is before I landed at the liquor store. But I was applying for a job as a beer and wine buyer at another local grocery store, and I remember I had an interview set for like the Tuesday after we went to the Foster the People concert in New York. Jeff and I talked a little bit about what we mentioned, the Foster the People concert and how much fun it was. Went to this with this roommate and Jeff, and before we left to go to this show, he we talked a little bit about my interview, and he told me, so I had curlier hair at the time. I've got curly hair, but I had much longer curlier hair at the time, and I didn't have a lot of dress shirts. I had some that I liked, and it was good.
You generally wear. I mean, for interviews that I've seen you get ready for in the past, or like knowing you, it's a nice pair of jeans, maybe a button-down shirt, maybe depending on the job, like a nice. I don't know if you have polo shirts, but
I don't have a polo shirt.
Yeah,
no.
but
I
just
did,
like
but not then.
Looking respectable, and honestly, for the most recording time has been reached. Damn it! Can you keep going for a little bit?
Yeah. So the basically, I'll wear like khakis and a button down, and I figured it doesn't really matter what I look like necessarily. It matters more how I present myself, and any good business owner that gives a shit about what I look like over what kind of person I am, isn't worth working for.
Yeah. No. So I understand that we still haven't even gotten to your story yet, but I want to just like interject.
We're basically in it. Basically in it.
When I interviewed at the job that I currently have, I got the job, thankfully, but the department head gave me so much shit for wearing jeans, but everybody else on the team was like, yeah, I mean, they were jeans, but they were like nice jeans. Like he had rolled up the cuffs and he looked respectable. Yeah. It's not like he had holes in the jeans or like they were super faded or gross or anything. I think I bought the jeans for the interview.
It's business casual. It's definitely business casual, and you work in a fairly casual like work environment, don't you? Like you don't dress up every day. Like you don't dress up.
I barely dress up at all. I think I dressed up for my interview or my annual review on Friday. But yeah, it was even here, so it was mostly just for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like I gave my department head shit for so long, and we both thought it was hilarious that it like came up repeatedly, and I was just like, Amy, listen, I love you, but why?
Yeah,
Why is that the thing that you focus
why
on?
my jeans? Why
Yeah.
the jeans? And so for me, it was like, why are you focusing on the fact that I have curly hair and like I'm not going to change my hair?
Yeah.
And this was at a time when I was like really financially strapped, and I I couldn't afford to go get a haircut.
No.
And the yeah, so basically while the entire time we were in New York, he kept trying to trick me into getting my haircut. And he said, like, you know what I love to do the first time I go to a new town? I like to go and get my haircut. It's like, that's bullshit. You don't travel. And so, like, like you're lying. Like,
Maybe that's why he's traveling so much now.
so you can go get more haircuts.
Yeah.
But
Just get a new haircut in every new place that he goes to.
that's awesome. That'd be actually pretty cool. I
Yeah.
think that I'd watch that miniseries if it weren't him. Like, but so Jonathan Van Ness, like, go give haircuts everywhere you travel. That,
true.
I mean, he does it. He does it anyway. I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. He does it for Queer Eye. But anyway, he was insisting that I needed to have more professional looking hair like his, and then that I needed to dress nicer, and he was going to take me out shopping to buy nicer clothes because my clothes were bad. My clothes didn't look good. And I explained to him multiple times. I said, like, hey, dude, like, I know what I'm going to wear. I can't afford to get a haircut. I appreciate what you're trying to do. I'm going to shave for my interview. That's about as much grooming as I'm going to do. Like, that's like grooming extra to what I have. I'm not going to trim my hair. I'm not going to do that stuff because I can't afford to. He's like, I'll pay for it. I was like, I'm not asking you to pay for it. I'm asking you to get off my back.
Yeah, exactly. It's not your place to
tell me how to dress.
be like this.
Yeah. It's like, well, you don't, and then he got in my face like, you don't understand how the professional world works. People need to look nice. That's the first thing that people see when you walk in is how good you look.
What was he doing for a job at the time?
At the time, I think he was working for I think he was doing
Corp?
yeah, I think he was doing like the activist stuff.
Okay.
Where you wear like the activist t-shirt.
Yeah.
And
T-shirt and jeans.
T-shirt and jeans. And so but like,
he's got to look professional.
I'm not sure he was a team lead yet, but when he was a team lead, he started wearing button downs.
Yeah.
Which I understood, and he was in a leadership role, but like,
just for the job you're going for. I think at this point you were going for a brewery position, right?
I was going for the beer and wine buyer at
Right.
a grocery store, and I figured like, okay, it's a grocery store, I might need to wear a button down, and so I wore a button down.
Yeah.
I wore a button down, I wore khakis, and I had my curly hair, and I interviewed with the guy, and I said, hey man, like I asked the interviewer, I said, you know, I was.
Do you have a dress code here?
Well, throw back to last week. No, I went up to him and I said, hey, I honestly was like really worried about what to wear to this. And like, do you care that I'm wearing this stuff? He's like, and he walked out to me wearing a white t-shirt and jeans. This is the owner of the store, who is at work for this interview, did not any shits that I was wearing nice clothes. He said, I would have interviewed you in whatever you were wearing.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank you. And I was like, thank you for being honest. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I like, but it got to the point where I did end up getting that job, but
It's because you didn't look nice.
it's probably, no, it's because I looked too nice. I looked fine. Like I looked presentable for someone who has my hair. I don't think like what was I going to do? Pretend I didn't have curly hair the entire time I worked there? Like, so I don't get my hair cut. I would usually wait like 4 or 5 months between haircuts.
Yeah.
My hair gets curly.
Yeah.
It gets frozy.
And it grows pretty quick too.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It
that's
gets
just
long
how
curly.
it is.
Yeah.
The concept of like professional haircuts is kind of bullshit to me because like that's what my hair looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's, I don't know.
Yeah. Just look at a lot of like,
I'll never
I don't know, like
mohawk.
just be comfortable in the skin and the look you're in.
Yeah.
And I was comfortable with my curly hair. It was summer, so I needed to cut it, but I didn't.
You didn't have the, you weren't
have the
in that
money.
position.
I said it was like, once I have money, I will get my hair cut.
Yeah.
But it's going to be after my interview.
Yeah. I could have cut your hair.
That was the biggest thing. It was like, he insisted that he knew better how to take care of me. And this was just one of many stories. We could do a roommate part 2, but like
maybe in a little bit, yeah.
It collapsed. The whole place, the whole thing collapsed pretty early.
Yeah. I mean, there were months where it was just like
2 months later, I asked him to move out.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing deteriorated.
Yeah. For the best.
Yeah, it's for the best. I've had a much more positive roommate environment the last year. It's been the best year living in this town in my life.
How dare you?
I mean,
How?
I didn't have a full year with you.
It's true.
Like,
Yeah, wait, we lived together for maybe a total of a year.
yeah, maybe no,
Yeah.
about yeah. The first summer, I know that you saw that first summer in the
Very
first
differently.
very differently than I
Yeah.
did. I really enjoyed our time that first summer, and then I think we were really vibing with Sarah and Jeff when we lived with them.
Oh yeah,
that was the best.
I mean, Jeff, lovely guy, love that boy to bits. He was a good roommate. Sarah was a good roommate.
Yeah.
You were a good roommate.
At the time, I didn't because we had our conversation after you moved out the first time.
Yeah.
And the side note, when Simon and I moved out the first time, it was because we had some issues together that we needed to discuss, and and so that the next time we lived together, it was a lot better terms.
Yeah.
And
I definitely take a lot of fault for that. Like,
we were young
in that situation. I didn't communicate very well with you, but communication is very important, and some people
need it
and don't have it.
Yeah, it's basically the rule of the biggest takeaway is that, like, if you're gonna be in a roommate situation, just talk to the people you live with. Like, that's just communicate with them, let them know how you feel, because they're the people who are closest to you in your life, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
They're physically closest to you. Like, my roommates know a hell of a lot more of what's going on in my life than, like, my family does, and my family's on the other side of the country. So it's like, and I talk to my family. At this point,
Julia kind of is your family. Yeah. Over here, at least.
Yeah, Julia is my family. It's.
Wouldn't it be wild if we were talking about the worst roommate stories, we both talked about our girlfriends but didn't mention it? You know what's so annoying? When I wake up next to somebody every morning, it's the worst.
And then I wake up and the covers aren't on me. and I'm freezing and my leg is an ice cube.
I do that. I can call it.
I don't do that. She refers to me as a hot box because I literally just emit heat.
Same.
And so she just needs to get away from me after a little while.
She doesn't refer to me as a hot box for the same reasons, but I think that's gonna cut it.
Yeah.
Time we're running pretty late, so I might end up cutting some bits out if we mention
people's names.
I don't know. I'll do my best, but this is great. I liked having this in person. This felt way more natural.
It does.
I think because I could hear you in real time.
Yeah.
And so it's not like I'm trying to figure out, like, the right time to talk. I don't know.
So y'all, if you've made it this far in the video, please remember we're trying to grow this channel, and if you don't mind, hit like.
I mean, if you enjoyed it, hit a like. If you want to watch more, subscribe. Mm-hmm. I don't really know how notification things work, but I always hear people
ring that bell. I don't know what that means.
And leave your comments below about, like, your worst roommate story or suggestions for what you want to hear us talk about. We're probably going to go through the list on one of the comments on the last episode for a while.
Yeah, a lot of different suggestions.
There were a lot, but I think next week we're going to try to do worst hospital story.
Yeah,
because Jen was going to be on yesterday. There were some issues outside of that, just with
life
getting everything working together. So yeah, I'm excited for this, at least.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be really fun.
Yeah,
Jen will probably have the same setup, and then we'll figure out how to incorporate you into everything.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
But stay tuned. Again, if you liked it, like it, share it if you want. We'd love to keep talking to y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Bye, guys.